and welcome to DiceTillDawn and my next review. And today I'm looking at one of my favorite games of all time, a bit older one released in 2006 by the guy that made Puerto Rico, and I think it's his wife, Karen and Andreas Seyfarth, and that is Thurn and Taxis, or Thurn and Taxis, the original name. And this is the expansion box, so if you're looking for the game, the base game comes in a similar box, a bit bigger and red, so just to note that. But I can actually fit both of the games in this one, so that's why I don't have the base box anymore. But I will only look at the base game. Basically, I can mention something about the expansion in the end. But basically, this is for 2 to 4 players, plays in 45 to 70 minutes, I guess, depending on the number of players. And you are basically some postal office like directors who are trying to make these first postal routes around Germany and gain points in the end by different things. And so very much similar to Ticket to Ride in many sense, but not in all sense. So let's look at how the game plays and then come back with my final thoughts. Okay, here is the game setup for a 2-player game. There are these bonuses for these different regions. 2 of these because there's only 2 players. Here is the available offer of cards. There's the wagons up there, and then the map. And every player starts with 20 of these office pieces, and these are the ones you want to get on the table. The game ends when one of the players finishes putting their last office on the table, and all the other players have one turn after this, depending on who started the game. Or if someone gets the last wagon, the 7-length wagon there, the longest one, that's also the end of the game. The one that starts the game end gets this 1 extra point for finishing the game, I guess. Okay, so on your turn you have actually 3 phases, or actually even 2, but the first phase is you have to draw 1 city card. So it can be either one of these ones on the table, or you can take the top card of the deck just blindly. So that's your first phase. The second phase is that you have to play 1 city card or start a new route if you want. So if you don't have any cards ahead of you, I could now start, for example, with my Mannheim, and I place it ahead of, in front of the table. Okay, that's my second phase, and my third phase could be to score a route if it's at least 3 length. So, for example, let's say I had a route from Sigmaringen, Ulm to Augsburg. That's 3 long. If I had those cards in a row, I could now score it, and then I would get some points or things. I will explain them shortly. So, for example, if you score, these are the bonuses down the left here, you can just see them under the camera, are numbered 5, 6 and 7, the smaller number. These are victory points. So, for example, whenever you score a route of 5, you take the top tile, and that's 2 points in the end. These are one of the bonuses you can get. Then there's also the region bonuses. So, for example, here, white, light and dark blue. The first one to get their office on each of these spots gets the top tile of the deck, or the pile. Then there's the big Bayern region, which is a lot of land, but if you get your office on each of these, you get the 5 extra points there. And the others are the same. And also the first player or second player, whatever, gets 1 office on each of the colors on the game board, gets the top tile of this deck. So that could be a lot of points also. So how do you place the offices? So let's continue with my example of this 3 route. Now you can choose one of 2 things to place these. Either you can place them on 1 color. So I could choose, I will place them all on the dark green. So not green, dark or light green, these are different colors. So I could place one here. Obviously that doesn't make much sense. Because the other thing you can do is you can place offices on each different color, one of each different color. So I could place these Ulm and Augsburg and Sigmaringen with this one action. But let's say my route was a little bit longer and went to Ingolstadt also. Now I had a choice. I could either place them like this, one in each. I couldn't choose both of these, but I could choose Ingolstadt instead of Augsburg, for example. Or I could choose to put all in the light ones. So even though these were in the route, I can only place in these two. So this is the point where the planning comes in. You really have to plan your routes to be efficient with them so that you don't lose many of the possibilities to place these offices. So you either want to build routes that go through many different colors at once, or ones that stay in one color as much as possible. But as you can see, the map is built in such a way that it's not always easy to do that. Okay, then there are the main goal or main salt of the game, I guess, are these special abilities. There's actually this hint sheet also, it's in Finnish, so no bother in showing it to you. But this tells you how the round goes and all of the special abilities of the helpers. There are 4 different things. The first one, the postman, lets you play 2 cards when you are playing cards to your route. For example, if you had the Sigmaringen, you could now play Ulm and Augsburg on the same turn. Or the postmaster lets you take 2 city cards when you're taking cards instead of 1. Or the accountant lets you clear the whole table of these cards with new ones and then take one of the ones that have been revealed. Or the wagon coach, I guess you would call it, lets you take one of these wagons higher than your actual route is. I will explain that briefly, but it's the most hardest thing to explain in this game. So but you can only use one of these per turn. So you always have a choice of which one to use, but you always want to use at least one of them. And one more thing, after your turn, you can have a maximum of 3 cards in your hand. So of course the cards on the table don't count, but you can actually get cards to your hand. So the 3 is the maximum. But yeah, let's talk about these wagons a bit. As you can see, there's numbers 3, and they are from 4, 5, 6, 7 to the end. And there are victory points down here, so 2 points. And as soon as someone finishes a route of at least 3, he gets this card. And even if the route was length 5, if he didn't have any wagons before, he would only get the 3. So you can't skip these, you have to get these in order. And normally you just get them by first building a 3 route, then building a 4 route, then building a 5 route. And as you can see, the victory points get higher after each one. So, but the wagon coach allows you now to get actually 1 or 2 higher. So, but not if you're a 3. But let's say you now had this 5 as your latest wagon, and now you are scoring a 4 length route, and you can use the wagon coach to actually go 2 higher and get the next one. So you would get the 6 even though your route was only 4. So this is the helper that actually helps you push along these quite fast. And the last one is worth 10 points, and the one that builds this actually starts the end of the game. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the rules I could come up with here, and hope you understood it. It's hard to explain, especially the wagons, but all in all the game is pretty easy and simple and highly entertaining. Okay, so welcome back to my final thoughts on Thurn and Taxis. Well, I really love this game, and this is the absolute Ticket to Ride killer for me. As I have said in some video, I really don't like Ticket to Ride at all, but I like the mechanic of picking cards, the tickets from, or the trains from the table and then getting a set of those and building the routes. I like that in it, but pretty much nothing else. So this has that mechanic, but everything else is just so much better. I think this is maybe a little bit harder than Ticket to Ride, especially the wagons when you get them. It's confusing to explain it in the beginning, and actually the expansion gives a different way on the wagon thing, and I think it's even better. So if you can find the expansion, it basically needs the base game, but you only need the offices from the base game. So if you have some houses lying around of some other game or some cubes, you could actually just buy the expansion Power and Glory, and you could actually play this standalone, because all the other things are unique in this one. There is a new map and new cards. But anyway, the base game is just so rewarding. I think there's much more strategy than it seems. So I think, well, like, it seems random and easy, but once you know that which cards have gone by, and if you still haven't seen, there's 3 of each card, so if you still haven't seen, for example, München somewhere, and you know that there's still 2 or 3 of them probably in the deck, maybe clearing the board would actually give you that card. Or like if you see that your friend is trying to pick a route that's big and there's just one card that he needs, now you can actually take that card and you can actually just host your friend with it, and or you could clear the board when there's something they would actually need from the board. And well, the clearing of the board is one of the main things that I really like in this game, especially when you can do some like calculations in your head and you know the probability of drawing a certain card. So that's what I really like, and it's pretty tight. So the thing you have to always extend the line before you can score it, and if you can't extend it, you actually lose the whole route. It's really interesting and very tight, and you really have to manage your turns so that you can always either extend it or then you have to score it earlier, because there's no coming back from the like if you lose a route of 5 or something, it's probably losing the game for you. But it doesn't happen often if you just keep your mind on it. But if you really want to take a big risk, it's sometimes funny, and I've done it and it's never backfired on me, but usually there's a lot of calculations behind that successful risk. And it's less confrontational than Ticket to Ride, because you can't block other people from going to the same routes, but again you can take the cards they would need right now and stuff like this. So there is confrontation in that sense, and the more you know the game, the more you can see these things that you can actually block other people's with. But I do like it, because I really hate the Ticket to Ride aspects of I need this route first, because it's needed in most of the tickets. So if I get this now, it's probably, even if it doesn't help me, it will block all the other players, and I just hate those kind of things in games. And basically this has 2 ways to go about it. You can either try to get all your offices on the table as fast as possible and just score points on the way, and maybe build these long routes and get a lot of points. Or you could try to go 3, 4, 5, 5, 5 and try to end the game as quickly as you can with these wagons. And they are a lot of points, where you will probably have some leftover offices, but so will the others if you're fast. So that's an interesting mechanic, and I just really like it because depending on what the others do, you really have to maybe exchange your plans a bit, because you can't do the long path you wanted to because someone is close to ending the game already. And yeah, I really like the pastel art, and it's just inviting and nothing serious. And it's kind of, someone could say it's boring color because there's not of color, but I think it's like historic feeling. And the cards are nice, and they have the pictures which are about the towns and stuff like that. So I don't see anything wrong here, and the offices look nice on the table, and it's just always fun. And one more thing, I think I've most enjoyed this at 2-player, and I've played a few 3-player games, 1 4-player game at least, and all of them work totally. But I really like the 2-player game because in that the straight competition on the routes and the clearing of the table and all these things are much more important. Because in a 4-player game you can't really plan anything ahead, because when your turn ends you can see that there's one card you want, you can almost be certain that it isn't there once it passes the 3 players. So it feels more luck driven and more like tactic rather than the 2-player, which is more strategic, I think. But I do like all of the player counts, and they give different feelings in other sense, and you can actually get bigger swings in things. So all are nice, but 2-player is great. But yeah, that's Thurn and Taxis, released 2006, and should be still available somewhere. And especially if it's in Finland, it's sold in all of the auctions very cheaply on eBay kind of stuff, and should be available pretty cheaply as a used copy if you can't find it in stores. But if you like Ticket to Ride but would like something a bit more like thematic, maybe, well, not thematic, but something like a bit more gamer and a bit more forgiving, but yet again still more strategic, I would highly recommend you check out Thurn and Taxis. Okay, I'm actually trying a new microphone setup, as you have seen, this plug on under my chin, and hopefully it gives you this a little bit better audio, but give me feedback on that, please. Because this is actually a free thing I made up from an old headphone set. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, so this was Thurn and Taxis. Go get it and see you next time. Bye.